Oh my God. Why? Get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry. Welcome. And I'm at it again with actually not even part three. This is episode 3 of our gaming pulpit, right? So we have a lot to discuss today. I sat there and I made like a little list of things I wanted to talk about. First and foremost, I want to kind of structure the video. So the video is going to be about what I believe. Fuck out of here. What I believe is, I'm sorry. It's like always I'm on live and this is the phone and shit like that, so I gotta deal with this fucking shit. Anyway, so what I believe is that, like, okay, so the first part of the video is going to be about the differences between Xbox community and the PlayStation community, and then I want to kind of like move on to I can't even read my writing. What works with, you know, their strengths and weaknesses, essentially, right? And then I want to kind of break it down between what are the strengths of Microsoft and what are the strengths of the, you know, Sony's and their shit. So, and then I want to move on to my E3 predictions, what I believe. So let's get this shit started, right? First and foremost, I know a lot of people are actually talking about, you know, Sony or Microsoft need to have like exclusives and things of that nature. They need exclusives because Sony's doing it and Sony's getting a lot of press because of the, you know, because of all of this shit. But listen, Microsoft operates in a totally different manner, like a totally different manner. What I found is that they're very casual. This is over the Xbox community. They're very casual, right? They're very online centric. They are very hype bound. So like little things get them like super hyped, such as Sea of Thieves. Like that was a really big thing for, I don't even know what reason. I don't even know why that got big, but it was. And they're hyper competitive. So that's definitely something that, you know, that's on the Xbox community. Likewise, on the PlayStation community, they seem to be more of a hardcore, you know, time trials and beating time things like that. I don't even know what the fuck you call it, to be honest with you. But they're definitely more diverse, so you can get a lot out of the PlayStation platform. There's a lot of different games that you could get, and the PlayStation community is willing to actually play because they're more experimental. That's the next step, and they're definitely single player centric. So that's the differences between the two. But what works for Sony will not work for Microsoft, period, right? It's not going to work for Microsoft. They've released single player games and it failed. Quantum Break, that didn't work at all. That shit flopped. So you got Quantum Break, that failed. And what else? You have what the fuck is Sunset Drive, I believe. I don't even know what the fucking shit is, but you know what I'm talking about. So that failed too. The community they just do not want it. They don't want that type of environment. They don't want that environment. They don't. Like I said before, they're very casual. You know, it's very online centric. You know, and it's like multiplayer. They're tied to multiplayer. It's almost like literally a stark contrast. Hold on. So anyway, yeah. So I don't know why that fan was on. It was kind of weird. But yeah, like what I was saying before, what works for Microsoft will not work. I mean, what work for Sony will not work for Microsoft. Period. It's not going to work. You know, what I believe that Microsoft actually needs, they do need exclusives. You definitely need exclusives because that's what makes the world go around with companies. You definitely need exclusives, but the exclusives that they do need, they are not, they can't be like, and that's the only way I can really say either that or you just get out the industry. Like, why be in an industry if you're not going to really cater to it? I mean, I get what I told you in the last video why they went into the industry. I totally get it. I get it, but they need to focus on those things. Likewise, though, Sony has been super, super, super successful. They've been super successful with what they've been doing. They've released high-rated games after high-rated games. You have the Bloodborne, Last of Us, Uncharted. What else? Horizon Zero Dawn. Fucking God of War. You know what I mean? Even to an extent, Detroit Become Human. Even though it's a 7.9, and I know why. Like I said before, I told you how the Gaming Press is. The Gaming Press is, they parrot each other and they like hype machines. One thing, they tear it down. I don't know why they didn't do the whole God of War thing. You know what I mean? I guess they look like a damn fool when everybody else is rating it a high score, and then you got this one lonesome publication that rates it a low score. So usually, if everyone's rating it like a 10, 10, 10, 10, they don't want to look like they're clickbaiting. So they'll follow the trend, which sucks. To me, it personally sucks. Even with all that success, I still felt like, honestly, I felt like I wanted to interact somehow on the PlayStation Network. Some way, somehow, I felt like I wanted to be somewhat competitive. You know what I mean? I wanted to be somewhat competitive with the community, and couldn't. Comes out and it's better. And sometimes I'll go back to it. There's progression between the two. But I know Horizon Zero Dawn, they definitely said that they wanted a co-op game, and they had a crossroads to choose between co-op or a really good graphical game. Within all of this, you can tell it. It's totally there, but you know, they had to scale back and they had to work on the story. But I did want to have like a Monster Hunter version of Horizon Zero Dawn where Aloy, main character, the protagonist, be able to jump on the character, maybe hold it down or do something to stun it while she's on there, which would be definitely good for the sequel. I'm pretty sure the sequel is definitely going to have stuff like that. But that would have been great. You know, I mean, have somebody else jump on there. I don't know how it would work in terms of, it's so much of a linear storyline. Like, how would you incorporate that shit? I'm saying, like, how would you do that is the question. So I don't know how they would do it, because the storyline for Horizon Zero Dawn was never meant to be that centric with co-op, or even really to the point, you know, for God of War. I understand that you can't make God of War into like that kind of multiplayer environment, and plus they tried to do that shit with the last God of War and it failed miserably. But at least have like a competitive leaderboard, you know what I'm saying? Beat these particular trials in a certain amount of time, and maybe some, you know, shadowed characters or ghost characters and stuff like that, and you just beat your time. That'd be fucking awesome. That would have been lit. That definitely would have been lit. You know, it's very focused on single player, and I don't know how I feel about that. I don't. I enjoyed the games and stuff like that. I'm really wondering, like, how would Horizon Zero Dawn be if it was if it was like a co-op experience? Like, how would that be? If they couldn't make it okay, so maybe you could, maybe you can't make it into a single player multiplayer. You know what it is? If it's going to be Aloy, that's how I figure it. If, in my professional opinion, if it was me, The storyline needs to be completely separate from the multiplayer altogether. So you can be put into the same environment, but then you kind of like sort of like the what is that fucking game that came out on the Xbox? That zombie game. I can't remember it. But you know, like they have like a tether, they can't go too far away from each other. Maybe something like that. Or you know, I don't know how they would do it. But all I know is that it needs to be separate if they're going to do something like that. But anyway, I'm like really off the course. So we all know The Last of Us is definitely going to have multiplayer. And I feel like it's so long. I mean, you don't have to have something so like competitive with Call of Duty and things like that. I feel like Sony was kind of trying to chase that particular crowd and failed. You don't need to chase that crowd because The Last of Us ultimately is its own thing. And I actually like The Last of Us multiplayer. You know, I feel like everyone can compare it to Gears of War and shit like that, but honestly, it was very to me it was unique with the whole crafting on the fly and stuff like that. So maybe they can do something like that. Just have a single player mode and then a multiplayer kind of like cater themselves too. They need to definitely focus on some sort of. They need to focus on a network and hopefully they learn. I mean, I don't want every game to have multiplayer. I get it, but the narrative, the cool thing to say nowadays is, oh well, multiplayer needs to be. I mean, no one cares about multiplayer. Multiplayer is just the devil and shit like that. But I am paying for PSN, and you don't need PSN to play single player games. So I would like to utilize single player, or I'm sorry, the PSN with some sort of co-op or whatever. And now at the time they have money to do it. You know what I mean? For Guerrilla Games, they made The Last of Us, not The Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn. So they have the base engine. They have how they want the gameplay to be and everything like that. So that should definitely be easy for them to churn out some sort of co-op or multiplayer or whatever the case is, and see how that works. The controls are phenomenal in that game. And then in terms of God of War, maybe like a leaderboard, see how other people interact and stuff like that, and do it that way. I know Sony cannot stand to keep servers online, which is very fucking annoying. But that kind of wraps up the first segment of what I wanted. Like I said before, when it comes to Microsoft, they definitely need to focus on what they're strong at, which is online-centric community, competition within that particular community, and then make their gameplay kind of casual and shit like that. Because they can't, you know, they're the funny thing is, and I think I wrote that down here too. The community for Xbox, the Xbox fans, they don't want those kind of games. Is Microsoft can release that shit all day and all night, and that's probably why they canceled that one game. They canceled many games, but I can't. I'm like, my memory is so shot right now. But whatever game that was supposed to compete with Horizon Zero Dawn, they canceled that shit, and I'm pretty sure they knew that that shit wasn't going to work out. They knew that shit wasn't going to work out. It just wasn't. They knew it wasn't. No one would have bought it. The same thing like Sunset Overdrive, and the same thing like Quantum Break. It just wasn't. No one was going to buy it. What Microsoft's community wants is the multiplayer community, where the Twitch settings, where you can go on Twitch and you laugh. That kind of environment, they like that shit. That's what they want on Xbox. For PS4 or the PlayStation community, we like the hardcore. We like diverse. We like the whole experimental single player type shit. But I do feel like Sony needs to utilize their network. Not loot boxes and shit like that, but I'm paying for the network. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I'm finding myself not really playing multiplayer games. I don't buy third-party games really, and I don't really communicate with anybody. And it was free anyway if I did a voice chat. So it's like it's a waste almost. So I'm sitting there waiting for The Last of Us to to come out so I can utilize it. And I feel like most of the games need to do it. Way too many single player games to me personally. That's just what it is. And I feel like the Xbox community and the PlayStation community are different races altogether. That's my whole thing. So I want to definitely wrap this up with the E3 predictions. And what I feel, these leaks that were coming out for E3 in regard to Microsoft All these leaks all together. The leaks all together to me seems very accurate. So I believe the Xbox leaks is probably accurate as well. Very plain Jane, very like by the books. Microsoft is definitely giving up on this generation. They don't want to have nothing to do with. They don't have anything to do with this generation. They're done. They're done. They're so done with this generation. It's not even funny. They're done. Why would they come out with a multiplayer, or I'm sorry, with a new game now, a new exclusive, when the generation is almost over? They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And holy shit, it is hot in here. I know I'm looking like Childish Gambino in this bitch. It is super hot in here, and I didn't want to turn on the AC, and the temperature is rising steadily. It is hot as shit. And plus, I don't even like fucking shirts anyway, so there you have it. But anyway, just wanted to get that shit out the way. Sony stated that they wanted to highlight about 4 games, which we already know what those 4 games are. It's all over the internet. I'm late to this shit. And they probably want to give each game probably 10 to 15, probably 10 minutes a piece. So you can get a full grasp of what the fuck's going on, maybe a cutscene, and definitely The Last of Us is probably going to immediately start off with Ellie walking around. They're not even going to give a cutscene. Fucking room, and then the room is bright, and then you see Ellie running around doing her shit. They're not going to show anything more to play. I don't believe they're probably going to show more of Days Gone, because a lot of people who are bitching about that game. It's a fucking year away, and a couple people kind of mentioned about Days Gone. I wanted to kind of get this out the way in other videos. They mentioned about Days Gone. Why they use an Unreal Engine? They're using the Unreal Engine because they don't have a lot of people to kind of cater to the existing engines. They are very specialized and they're very finicky, from my understanding, with programming. The Unreal Engine is designed to be a pick up and go type engine, and that's why they're using it, where they can make their own little adjustments and shit like that. That's what the fuck's going on with it. Point blank, period. Why is it taking the game so long? They had 50 people. In a full budget game, 50 people. They had to increase from 50 to 200 in the duration of 5 years. That from one game that they made, I believe it was the Golden Abyss, to this particular game. They're not used to having that many people. That's just the bottom line. They're not used to it. So that's why it's taking them so long. They haven't done anything this massive in scale. It's an open world game from the linear experiences that they had before. Cut them some fucking slack. Let them finish the fucking game. They're good. They made solid games in the past. I don't think they ever fucked up on one game. So all this doom and gloom and concern type shit, let them finish the fucking game. But they're definitely going to have Days Gone in a more polished state. It's not in pre-alpha mode or, you know, before Christ mode, basically. That shit's early. It didn't look that bad, to be perfectly honest with you, but you know, people gonna say shit. So yeah, so that's what I'm seeing. And then Death Stranding, we're gonna find out more information about Death Stranding. I don't know what that game is all about. I know it's gonna look amazing because of the Decima engine. I don't know what the fuck it could be about. I don't know. Maybe it's a stealth game, a stealth action game. They said it was gonna be multiplayer centric too. So maybe that's there. But going back on to Microsoft, PlayStation, and not having multiplayer games internally, they need to go back onto that shit. It's annoying that it's always single player games. I get that you want to make a quality game and nobody else is doing it. But for the people that don't like Call of Duty or Battlefield, I'm looking for a unique and well thought out multiplayer experience that's not like Dog. I don't like Last of Us is great. I don't like Uncharted's multiplayer anymore. So anyway, Nintendo, they're not even in E3, so you can't even, I don't know what the fuck, they're going to show Smash Brothers, and everybody's going to say that they want it. Smash Brothers and Pokemon is definitely going to be their big thing. But for Microsoft, I don't know what they're going to show. It really is a do or die situation because everyone is pushing for exclusives, and Microsoft knows deep down inside that exclusives will not help that platform, not in the traditional sense. You got to have certain exclusive, but you know what? PUBG didn't do well either. You know what I mean? PUBG was shit in terms of performance and everything. So I don't know how they're going to make this shit work. I don't know. So it'll be very interesting. I'm gonna do some more research and dig into this E3 predictions in our next video. I'm not sure when I'm gonna create it, but I figure today I'll make part 3 or act of Gaming Pulpit segment. But that's all I really have for today. I didn't get no visitors or nothing. I didn't get shit. Yo, fuck y'all. I didn't get nothing, bitch. But it's cool. It's cool. As I said in my other video, you gotta keep plugging at this shit. You gotta keep on keeping on, because it's a hard road on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe because YouTube felt pity on me first doing this type of like live stream. But whatever. I'm gonna keep doing this shit regardless. Most likely with my shirt off because my apartment's AC doesn't work. And this is the only time I can really pump this shit out anyway. But I really appreciate any type of subs. If you do like the video, if you do like the conversation, definitely leave tell me if I'm wrong or right about it, or your own predictions and stuff like that. It's greatly appreciated. I love actually talking about video games all the time. I'll never turn on a conversation about that. I just love it too much. But until next time, take care.